All right, friends, welcome to our first Unite 2024 webinar, where we are going to share the information that we can share at this point and also give you guys a chance to ask some questions later on. And so this is a little different format than Zoom. Hopefully this is all working out for you well. And also want to let you know that this will be recorded, is being recorded, and will be shared later once we get a little bit of editing done. We are excited to welcome those of you that are new youth workers. Maybe you're new, younger in ministry. Maybe you're older but new to ministry. We want to welcome you to Youth Ministry in the Covenant. We want to welcome those of you that have been around a long time but maybe are new to the ECC. And we want to say thank you for being here as well. And those of you that have been around the Covenant for a long time, welcome back. It's good to see all of you as well. What a great opportunity we have to consider gathering together and working together towards this incredible opportunity next summer for discipleship for our students to lead them closer to Jesus and his heart. So excited to be able to work together and partner on this. Really quickly, this is an event that's been happening in the ECC for years, and then the pandemic obviously delayed things, messed things up. So we split a little bit, did some things in our individual regional conferences, and now we're kind of coming back to a national level event called Unite. And so we're excited that we can do this again. And yeah, it's a little different than it has been in the past, but this helps us try some new things and see how we can maybe even help engage more students in the experience and the opportunity to be together and worship Jesus. So that's part of the ethos of the ECC. If you're not familiar with who the ECC is, or you're newer, the Covenant loves relationship and loves to be together. And this is actually the largest gathering of Covenanters that happens ever. And so we get to gather. In the past, it's been about 5,000 high school students from Covenant churches from across the nation, from across Canada and other places as well, to gather together to be in relationship and fellowship together. We love it. We love to do ministry together as youth workers. And that's what this was born out of, was a desire to do youth ministry together, knowing that we're better together because we can leverage our resources, our time, our energy to provide something that's absolutely incredible that we couldn't do on our own, and be in partnership with one another in that. And so we're super excited to be able to do that and share life together in this process. So welcome. I want to let you know that we are putting this on. This is the leadership so far is a partnership between our interim youth ministry leadership team, which is made up of myself. Eric Cave is our fearless leader, Ruby Varghese, Matt Olseth, and Ginny Olson. And then we also are partnering with Eric Anderson and Jordan Myers, who you see here on the screen as well. They're from the Covenant events team. And so we are kind of the big picture, overseeing at least getting the ball rolling and getting things rolled out so that we can make this happen and get things moving down the road. So I'm going to intro Eric and Jordan. These guys have been putting the work into this already. And so they've been behind the scenes working on contracts and all the big things to get us to this point to say, yes, we're doing this, green light, let's go forward. And so Eric and Jordan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all you do with the ECC and events. And so I'm just going to let you tell us what you can tell us about Unite.
Absolutely. So, hey, I'm Eric Anderson, Director of Events for the Covenant Church. I get to work with my colleague, Jordan Myers. We work side by side in all things Covenant events, little things, webinars, virtual, big events like Gather, Midwinter, and everything in between. And we have had the honor to kind of step in the gap and really reignite the passion for this event, because Unite really it's a legacy. It's not just a one-off. It just didn't happen just in the 2000s when we moved to Tennessee. It's been happening for decades. And it's the event where we as a Covenant get to come together and equip and disciple and really raise up the next generation of students to do incredible kingdom work. And then that's our passion. It's not just to do a really cool event, and it's going to be really cool. Don't get me wrong there. But this event is really to reach as many students for Jesus as possible, and how we can equip them and empower them. I remember my first, it was Chick back in 2000. It was the first year at UT. I wore an orange jumpsuit for way too long of the week, and that band Lost and Found, if you remember, they debuted, and I tell you, they still have, I don't know if it's a near and dear place in my heart, but it's a place in my heart. So I've been a part of Chick/Unite movement for a number of years, a number of capacities. I know Jordan has as well, but we're here to say, like, we recognize the importance of this, the event. It is an event, but it's also it's more of a movement of youth ministry in the Covenant Church. It's been reaching people. I've heard stories this week. People back in 2003, I was telling a team, asking for the album that they recorded live, where it was Matt Lundgren's first one, and like it's just the memories that come, and it's not just memories, but it's those key decisions and moments where God meets students and changes the trajectory of their lives. And so that I think that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's the passion, the heartbeat. Jordan and I love youth ministry. We're a byproduct of the Covenant Church youth ministry movement. It's a big reason why we're saying, hey, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure this happens. And it is happening, which is exciting. Because in 2022, it happened last summer in a variety of ways, to be honest. We had some regional efforts. But what we saw last summer, sort of these other regional expressions, we still saw 2,200 students and leaders come to these events. And so we took a step back and we said, what if we did something a little different this time in 2024 to help reach as many students as possible from the Covenant Church with our DNA, our ethos, and who we are for the kingdom of God. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's kind of the big picture, what we're excited about, and the vision we have. And we're partnering with the interim team to see, what could be possible this next summer. And actually, today's an important date. Today, if you look at your Apple Watch, if you're an Android user, I'm sorry, but if you look at your Apple Watch, today is July 19th. If you fast forward 1 year, we'll be wrapping up 2 historic youth ministry Unite events on this very day in 300. It's a leap year, so Jordan can do the math. He's a numbers guy. It's 300 and some days next year. And that is incredible that we're having this meeting, this recording right now. And we're already thinking about, dreaming about, knowing that what might God just do 1 year from now. We'll probably be tired, sunburnt, sweaty, but we know that the kingdom of God will be impacted because all the planning and all of your effort, what you do at the local church, with your students, with your families. Again, it's not lost on all of us, the effort that you put in to make this happen, to bring your church, your students, your group. But we believe 1 year from now that we'll sit back and just smile at how God was glorified and how he moved in the ECC. So Jordan, I'm going to pass it off to you to kind of talk about some of the logistical things that are important.
Yeah, Eric and I have been in our roles now in the president's office for almost 2 years. I've been a little over 2 years. I think Eric's a little under 2 years. And literally from the first meeting that he and I had together, we were talking about what would it look like to bring Unite back in a national expression, knowing that the 2022 expressions were going to happen. At that point, we had canceled the UT contract because of the liabilities that we knew were there with COVID and kind of the looming financial instability of our churches at large. And so we've always been, since we've been in this role, we've been trying to stack the deck in such a way that a national expression of Unite would come back that was kind of birthed and a lot of energy put in from the denomination as well as the conferences. And so what we saw in 2022 with the regional expressions was a great foretaste to what it would look like. But the 2022 expressions there was a very limited amount of energy put in from the denominational office. And so our hope is that 2024, Eric and I and the denominational team, along with the interim youth ministry team and all of our conferences, can kind of row together to move this into a beautiful expression of what the future of Unite might look like. Over the last 12, 14 months, we have been dreaming, envisioning, and praying about what locations could be for Unite 24. We had, I think, probably 25 different conversations with universities and campuses and hotels across the country to look at what it would look like. We had some that seemed like really good fits, some that were clearly not good fits, but we've kind of turned over a lot of rocks to figure out how do we do this well as a denomination. We have heard over the years that Knoxville, Tennessee is sometimes problematic to travel to for our far West Coast churches. well, really a lot of our churches, and we start to kind of bid against ourselves and traveling into a smaller airport. And so we have been kind of dreaming, what would it look like to do Unite in a different location? And so in partnership with CIY, Christ in Youth, which is one, they helped do our East Coast representation last year and our West Coast. We are excited to kind of step into this relationship and do 2 locations, one in San Diego and one in Bowling Green, Ohio. That would be our East and our West locations. The idea is that it will reduce travel costs for our far-reaching churches, that it'll increase our ability and access to all of our youth across the denomination. Like Jim said, we've had 5,000 or 6,000 students on campus at University of Tennessee, but we know every year that there were churches that were not present too. And so our hope is that by having a more regional expression, a more across the country expression, we might be able to increase the access to our churches that historically haven't been present at those things. And like Eric said, last year, we had 5 different Unite expressions, over 2,000 students experiencing worship together in community. And so we are excited to kind of keep the momentum going. 2024 would be the natural cadence of the every 3-year cycle. We canceled 2021 due to COVID. And so this would kind of get us back on that 3-year cycle. But we're really just trying to figure out, like, what does this look like this year? And then what does it look like in future expressions of Unite? We saw what 2022 looked like. We're prayerful and discerning what 2024 will look like. And we're excited to kind of see the future of the Unite movement. But really this time is hopefully to open space for questions. We know there's probably a lot of questions, people who have a long Chick Unite legacy, some that have a fresh, new perspective. And so we would love to be, we don't have all the answers. This is all kind of a fresh expression of what Unite will be, but we're excited to engage with the questions, and we don't know the answers. It'll at least pique our minds to think more strategically about those things.
Sounds good. Could you guys share, I know we've shared some of the info via email through our conference conference liaisons and conference coaches, or coaches, not liaisons. Could you share some of those details here, just in case there's folks that haven't heard those details yet?
Sure.
As far as dates, cost, the kind of the basic logistics.
Yeah. So dates, I can just jump in real quick. It's going to be July 15th to the 19th in 2024. So sort of the schedule will start rolling out here, kind of start things Monday night and then end things Friday morning. That'll be there. The date cost is $485 per student, which is we still recognize it's a lot of resources, but it is a reduction in cost from years past. And so that's one of the reasons why we're doing 2 locations, to bring that overhead cost down so that it's more accessible for churches, families, students, you name it. Like, we know we're doing our best to try to be faithful, and we know that you're good stewards. We're trying to do our end and putting an event on to be good stewards as well. But there also is something unique, and I see, Jason, you asked a question there in the chat, and I can just probably talk to it. We are doing something a little bit different this year. We're doing conference assignments, which means that we're actually assigning content. We've been talking to the coaches, the interim team, to actually align conferences to go to specific sites. And the reason is that we want both sites to be an equitable, excellent experience. That we want both sites to have a similar population, a similar attendee experience. And then also with that one isn't better, or, have perceived to have more than the other. And those resources that we get from registration, we're able to divvy up equally so that each environment feels like it is united, that not one is better than the other, but that both have the right resources to have an incredible event. And so our hope is that we really would love to make sure that we have that equity and excellence, and that everyone walks away. It's like, yeah, we were all united. We weren't in one spot, we were in 2, but we were united not only that week together, but also when it came to also had the exact experience we had together.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for sharing those details. And just to clarify, it's $485 across the board. It's not a different price for each location.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. It looks like, if you want to, if you have questions, it looks like you go ahead.
So the Midwest Conference is one that's a little tricky for assigning. The same as the Canadian Conference of Canada, just because it in the middle, you go east, you go west. As Eric was saying, we're trying to balance our attendance numbers based on historic numbers so that east and west are somewhat equitable in the number of students that end up going to each campus. And so we've made the difficult kind of decision, I guess, to send the Midwest to the west, knowing that really the Midwest, kind of Mid-South and Canada, those are the three conferences that are a little challenging because of the breadth of the denomination where the churches are in those conferences. And so that's part of it is for balance in numbers based on historic norms from 2012, 2015, 18.
Right. Like Jordan said, the geographical footprint of the Midwest Conference is very interesting. And because of and Jim, you know this because you are over youth ministry in the Midwest Conference, there is a geographical sort of two slivers of youth ministry and churches within the Midwest Conference. So just to have equity and attendance and experience, we prayerfully discern that be the best decision this year.
Yep. Great. Thanks for speaking to that. It looks like, and this might be a little early to know, will there be an early night option or an extra night option, either front or back?
Yeah.
End?
So the question from Matt and Raven are both, we don't know the registration rates. We know 485 will be that early rate. There may be incremental increase over time to kind of encourage people to register earlier. The extra night we're not sure of yet. What we know now is that the event, our contract with the universities is Monday night through Thursday night housing, starting with Monday dinner and ending with Friday breakfast. Those are the details that we have locked in. Where the programmatical emphases happen, if you go back to our Unite Chick history over the last 4 chicks, we've had kind of the welcome party on that first day. And so I imagine something similar to that will happen as people check in and register. And then we'll close out with the last kind of contracted thing is breakfast on Friday. If there's program after that is still to be discerned. What we have, Eric and I were really pushing to get contracts signed before Gather so we could at least announce dates and rates. And all these things it's real quick that we're trying to get all the details continuing forward. So we wanted to have this call that kind of have some of these early conversations, knowing that we don't have all the details together yet for all of the things.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. And Jeff, I see your question there about what's the next cadence of meeting 2027, 2030. We don't know. So Jordan and I are kind of committed in our team is to say what, we're going to do 2024, then evaluate and what the meeting cadence, event cadence of Unite looks like. We don't foresee an every summer sort of like some of the other denominations do that they have such an annual cadence. We are going to, once we have an evaluation and debrief process of 2024, we will communicate to you all, interim team, our teams, you all, when the next one that we're looking at is and what those details look like. So we just want to say we're focused on this one, really to focus on executing it really well, and then to say, hey, was it a win, and what does the next version look like? So just want to give you a heads up there. We've not signed anything for 27 or 2023 or 2023. We're going backwards in time. No, 2030. Just to give you a heads up.
Okay, great question.
Yep.
Yeah, logistics around airport shuttles and things like that, that'll be forthcoming. A lot of the Bowling Green people that would be flying will fly into Detroit, and so the travel from Detroit down to Bowling Green I think is a little less than an hour, and then the same with San Diego. I mean, it's a lot closer to the airport there. Those are logistics that we'll hope to iron out in the coming months as you start to plan and kind of fundraise and build your budgets for what it costs you to charge your youth to then send them to Unite. And with Midwinter and Gather, we tend to have a discounted code with United that offers a few % discount. And so we'll have some of those same things that we do for our other events that we'll try to work in. But access and affordability is something that that's one of the lenses that we're thinking through. We understand that this is an expensive endeavor going to Chick. The number, I've been to every Chick since 2003, and I know the cost that it it incurs on the church to send students and leaders to Chick. And so for this Unite, Eric and I are thinking through that lens of how do we continually make it more affordable? What options are there to help with fundraising efforts through sponsorships and things like that? And so that's one of the lenses that we're thinking through is how do we save Kingdom dollars and increase the number of students that get to go to this event? But we don't have those details kind of in our hands right now.
Yep. Good. It looks like, is the ECC event geared towards believers, non-believers, or great for both? That's a great question, Trey. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah. That's a philosophical question that we always wrestle with. We want to put on an event that could reach, I would say, great for both. As a youth pastor, I would always bring students who had not yet made a personal commitment to Christ to Chick/Unite. And a lot of them, I've had a few that didn't make a decision, but later did, like in their college years, because of what this event made. So we really try to create a holistic event that makes it really is a target audience for both, that both feel like the messaging, the music, everything from parking lot to parking lot, that both groups of students feel like they were seen and encouraged. So.
And I would say, just that speaking as a youth pastor from that, I've seen that happen. I was just hanging out with a student this last weekend that accepted Christ at Chick 2009, and he's still following Jesus. And, so anyway, so yeah, I would say definitely both. It's also one of the things where we've seen a lot of current covenant missionaries and pastors or youth pastors, children's workers receive their call to ministry through Chick/Unite. And so yes, both. Absolutely. I think we've done a great job of that. We'll continue to do that.
Jeff, our hope is that the two events are equitable in their programming, that they're equally excellent. We haven't landed on flying speakers back and forth. The partnership, the ministry CIY that we're partnering with, they've gone through a series of events where they fly one speaker like back to back, week after week, to speak that same talk. Like it would be hard to do. We're not currently kind of entertaining like a simulcast message format. We're not close to the idea of having a speaker on night 2 and night 3 back to back, but it kind of the common refrain. That's a future decision that will come forth. And then to respond kind of to Rich's question, yeah, our commitment is to move as fast as we possibly can to get all the details in order as fast as we possibly can. Because we know kind of the lift, like responding to a number of the fundraising questions, like it's a lift for churches to raise funds to send students to these things. And so our commitment is to continually communicate all the details. Like we signed the contracts for these 2 campuses the week before Gather. And now we're here kind of communicating. We communicated the details of like what registration was going to be as soon as we had them at Gather. And so our goal is to keep churning out information and keeping that Unite tab of our website updated, communicating through the Cov Youth Network as well as through our coaches and our interim team. The distance between when a decision is made and when it's communicated is going to be very short over the next couple months as we keep kind of making sure you're as updated as we are.
Yep.
Yep. I have a quick question. Oh yeah, go ahead, Eric. You were gonna.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna ask the question. The 485 includes what? I know last time some of the regional events charged a price, but it didn't. It only included programming, not housing. So I just want to make sure we're clear on what does the 485 include.
Yep, it includes all the event like on site. So housing, food, programming on site, what you experience there. So it's not additional resources to like what you experience, like bedding, food when you're at the event. It's all inclusive there.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
And then it looks like I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Ravan Rush has a name or a question there about engaging in conversations around diversity prior to Unite. Which I'm not sure if we've developed anything. Oh, Raven, there you go. Thank you.
That was the guess I took, and I think it worked.
Right on. I don't know if anything's specifically been developed other than curriculum we've used in the past, but I don't know if if you want to speak
We're
to that.
in conversation with Love, Mercy, Do Justice and Making Deepen Disciples about the importance of those types of resources prior to entering into an event like this, when a lot of majority culture churches interact maybe for the first time with BIPOC churches. And so it's part of our kind of priorities to make sure that we create as safe a space as possible for all of our churches entering into these new spaces that they may not have experienced before.
Right.
So yeah, we will be partnering with Making Deepen and Love, Mercy, Do Justice to create those resources to help, like we did in 15 and 18. We had some pre-CHIC curriculum to help with those conversations, to help youth leaders navigate those conversations.
Yep. And I'll say too, we're also working with CIY. So Jordan and I have a front seat at the table when it comes to how we're curating the content of what will be on stage, communicated, small group questions through our ECC lens. So it's not just going to be, we're going to take their package, apply it here. It will have an ethos of who we are as the Covenant Church when it comes to what we're doing on stage, what we're doing in smaller groups, what we're doing in a variety of spaces. So, and we're grateful for that opportunity. They have been very open-handed and want to learn from us and us learn from them. So we're excited that we get to be making sure that we are sort of the guardrails of what our students experience.
Yep. That's great. Yeah. Other questions? It looks like some folks are typing. Are individual churches responsible for transportation? Yes, that we did talk about that. Yep. However, some conferences like the Northwest Conference, I don't know, I'm not speaking for Ginny, but in the past, they've historically done like conference-wide busing to get everyone there. So I would say check with your regional conference coach, and they can speak more to that. So, yep. Good question.
So not to belabor a conversation, but the kind of slow nature of this conversation, like getting Unite details in front of churches ready for, like Eric and I and the interim team have kind of been discerning our process through, because we know the investment that it takes to put on 2 events like this. We know the investment it takes from churches to send students to this. And we wanted to ensure that we had enough of our ducks in a row to have a successful event that's transformational for students and for leaders. And Eric and I have been in probably a 6 to 9 month conversation with CIY. And what does it look like to partner with a covenant well, to do an event that is, like Eric said, really covenant identity, and its root is safe and accessible to all of our churches that are a breadth of the mosaic. And so part of our kind of slow walking through these conversations is to ensure that we feel comfortable that we can do
Right.
the CHIC history, Unite history justice, and keep the movement going in a positive forward trajectory, and that this isn't some sort of blip in our historic kind of momentum in youth ministry.
A great question was asked of just what is CIY? Maybe we could speak. I can speak a little bit, or if you guys want to share, that's fine as well.
Yeah, Christ in Youth is a nonprofit organization based out of Joplin, Missouri, and they have 55 plus summer retreat / camp / youth conferences every summer. So right now they're in the thick of it. Every week they have multiple conferences happening all over the country. And so we're partnering with them. They do events similar to CHIC on a smaller scale with a little bit more of a camp vibe to them. And so we are partnering with them. They have the expertise to like move volunteer resources to the campuses to help us with the things that, frankly, we don't have the with COVID, the staff and the kind of the structure in place to continue doing like a Unite like we did in 2018. And so this is a great step towards keeping that momentum going. But yeah, Christ in Youth is the name of the organization. And I think their website is just ciy.org.
Yep.
I'll check it to make sure.
Yep.
There's a great question about scholarships. My initial thought is that's still kind of being determined, but maybe you guys have more info on that, or maybe that's accurate.
So it's being determined. We're working with different partnerships to see what that could look like. Thanks for asking, Cheryl. But also we're going to be working with the coaches also what that looks like in the interim team at the conference level as well. Just to answer that question. And then Jeanette, great question about registration. Right now we're going to open registration October 2nd, Monday, October 2nd, 2023. So we're really excited about that. And then in the next couple of weeks here, we will let you know sort of like what that tier, if there's a tier when it comes to registration. And I think, Jordan, did you touch on the deposit stuff for students yet?
No, I was just going to bring that up. Why don't you speak to that?
Yeah, so we will have for our history, we've had kind of a deposit that you can make a deposit towards your students. And so $85 will be the deposit to hold your space for Unite 2024 to kind of help in that fundraising timeline, to give a little more time before the balance is due for the conference.
Yep.
And that's a non-refundable deposit, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Next question is about excursions. What do we know? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, great question. So we right now are going to be, Jordan and I are going to be going to visit both sites to determine what excursions look like. So again, give us a little bit of grace here, just knowing that we're doing excursions in locations we've never been to. We know them, we have the contract signed, and we have all the logistics done, but we're going to look at also what does that look like for this new iteration? Like what's available and equitable at both sites and affordable for everybody else. So we want to make sure that we're just being upfront about that. Again, by the end of the summer, our hope is to have those details communicated and what that looks like. But again, like please keep asking the questions. We're going to, working with the interim team to roll out communication as frequently and effectively and quickly as possible to everyone. So this is the answer about that as well.
Great. Good stuff. Yep. Yeah. Final dates, payment deadlines will be coming. Yep. Once we know that a little better.
Yeah. So Eric and I value the excursion opportunities at Chicks Past. And so having regional expressions of those is something that we are very interested in doing.
Yep.
As well as, like Blake said, the volunteering opportunities. So in Knoxville, we had a number of different places where students could sign up to go volunteer during the week as well. So those are all things that we know are important to youth groups and to students that have been to Chick in the past. And so it's on our list of things to make sure we continue to consider, but
Right.
Not that we can promise we're going to have.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yep. And then the same would be true. There's a question about volunteer opportunities. I'm not sure, Blake, if you meant for students to volunteer or if you meant as people to sign up, like in the past, we've had staff roles. I'd say that's still being just determined as well. So,
right.
Yep. Yep. Cool.
Yep, like I know what you're referring to about the Engage. Yep, I know, Jim, you kind of had that a very missional mindset when it came to your local expression. Rich, to your comment again about non-refundable deposit and not willing to ask people, students, chaperones to commit to something I can't give them good info about. Trust us. We understand the tension we're all in. We've been feeling it for months, trying to get a multi-site lift of a student discipleship event off the ground and to this point. And we will be working diligently to make sure we get you those details and efficiently and effectively as we can. So we're not holding just being here. We're just being on. We're not holding any cards back or any details that we don't know, or make sure that we want to give you all the vital information. We thought this was the best first step, having this conversation, hearing the needs that you have. Because I know as I'm seeing the chat and the questions, Jordan and I have our to-do list. We know now what we need to get done ASAP for you all so we can best resource you. And that's what we're trying to do. We really want to be a resource and partner with you. So we hear you and we want to make sure we provide those details to you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and Veronica, it's part of our covenant events kind of ethos to have the majority of our resources offered bilingually, and so that'll continue on with our Unite conference as well. And then Tim, there will be music at Unite. I don't know. We don't know exactly what that expression looks like.
Yeah.
One of the things, so like, I mean, I was hesitant to kind of even have this call just because it feels like there are a number of loose ends that aren't tied up. And as a 3 on the Enneagram, I like to have all of my loose ends tied up before I go in front of people to tell you I don't have my loose ends tied up. And so we're being kind of vulnerable in this space of, hey, we're in the planning process. We're trying to move the ball forward on both of these expressions as fast as we can, but we want to bring you along with us in the process. And so this is like a space of, vulnerability of the loose ends for Eric and I are not tied up, and we're frantically trying to get a little extra string to tie them up.
Right.
And if Blake is going to sign up to be our main stage at both Unites, I guess we have our first band potentially signed.
Yeah.
In the chat. Yeah.
One person band? Right. Yeah.
There's a question about what's the age range and or grades of who can attend.
Yeah. So students who are going into that fall as a freshman, also those who are graduated that previous year as seniors. So that is the demographic of people who can sign up as students to attend.
So your current, like this fall starting school, 8th through 12th graders are the students that can promote this to if you choose.
That's a great way to frame it up.
Yep.
And I'll say this, just a comment on this overall process tension that we're feeling. This has been a process that we've never really embarked on as the Covenant Church and the youth ministry movement. So like, just to put this out there, we've never done 2 sites like this. And so we're pushing covenant limitations, but also explorating. Like this is a very exciting thing. So we know that there's historic sort of expectations of deadlines of when the swag box would come, and you got the socks and the sunglasses and all the stuff. But like we are trying to do something we did at 1 site at 2 sites, and I know that it feels a little murky, but I do think like for us as a team serving you as youth workers, pastors, bivocational people at the local church, we know like you have a lot on your plate as well. So we're doing our best to serve, and just want to give like perspective. Like the multi-site movement is something that's new for us. The Covenant events that we've never done, we've done hybrid, which is interesting, but we're also just want to make sure like we will keep elevating the communication cadence so that you feel comfortable, so that you feel like all the details feel like the relevant, your students and families are ready to go.
Yeah, he's gone. Just want you to know I'm ready to go.
I guess his internet cut out or something. Without seeing any other major questions, I'm gonna just point you to 2 places for further information. One is this network right here. We are going to continue to push out information and announcements here in coveyouth.com. And so I want to encourage you, if you know someone who you don't see on this call right now that needs to be here, please invite them into this and encourage them to get into this, because this is where we're going to have dialogue, discussion, like I think Jenny mentioned in the chat, fundraising ideas and all of that kind of collaborative work will happen in this network, in this platform. If you have basic quick info questions, those can be answered at covchurch.org/unite. That's covchurch.org/unite. That's kind of the basic dates, price, locations, things like that. So those are the 2 key places where information will be put out. So make sure that you're connected into those areas. I think that is all that we have to share today. And Trey, oh, look at that. Trey just posted in the chat who your conference coach is. And so they are all in this network as members. So if you need to, if you don't have their contact information, you could find them in the list of members after the call, and you could send them a message directly. Anyway,
and that works for Eric and I too. So if you have questions that you don't find on the Unite site or on the Cov Youth site, like tag us in a post if it's something you think like the greater youth ministry network could benefit from it, we can answer publicly, or send us a direct message or an email, and we will make sure to either tell you the answer or tell you we're working on that particular question. There he is.
Hey, Eric, welcome back.
Oh, wasn't that fun? Just Apple decided to reboot my computer.
Wow. Blessings to you. Happy day. We'll see y'all.
Bye, y'all.